Hi, my name is Jack Cole, and I'm, as was said, the Executive Director of a group called LEAP, or Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. It's an organization now of 15,000 of its cops, judges, prosecutors, prison wardens, DEA and FBI agents, and others who want to legalize all drugs. We want to end the violence. The only way to end the violence is by legalizing and regulating these drugs. We come at this from the viewpoint of law enforcement, and we know that, for instance, when we ended alcohol prohibition in 1933, next morning, Al Capone and all his smuggling buddies were out of business, right? They were off our streets. They were no longer out there killing each other, control that very lucrative market. They were no longer killing us cops, charged with fighting that useless war. And they were no longer killing our children caught in crossfire and drive-by shootings. War on drugs is a terrible policy. And it's a policy that has caused a lot of these problems that Kevin has pointed out. And by the way, that's one of the best productions I ever saw in my life. Congratulations. That was really fantastic. I'm a pretty old guy now, and I lived through most of the things that you mentioned in schools. I had a hard time in school. Thought I was very stupid. Thanks to some very uncaring teachers that labeled me stupid because I had dyslexia, and nobody knew what dyslexia was back then. I was just stupid. I couldn't read. I ended up flunking out in high school and joining the Marine Corps, which you could do better. Do it with GED, and even when you got out, you could sort of make it through life. You can't do that anymore because we have tightened up the rules and tightened up the rules and tightened up the rules to keep people in school forever, so that they don't have to go out into that job market and displace the people already there. There's much to what he said there. I think when you were discussing, people in the movie were discussing the idea that they were training people, like you just said, for a military model. Well, it's also for an industrial model. It's training people to go to work in factories, and when the bell rings, you start to work, and when the bell rings, you end the work. And the idea of breaking down learning to the point where if you lose all the fun of it is sort of like the alienation of labor. So it's all a similar thing. It was bad enough. It was really bad. It was so bad that I thought I was absolutely stupid for most of my life. Came out of the Marines. I was an iron worker for a while, and I joined the state police, and I thought I was very stupid. Hardly got into state police because I did so bad on their entrance exam, and it occurred to me that it was the dumbest entrance exam I ever saw in my life. That's why. And it didn't really have anything to do with intelligence. And then I was there for 26 years, and in that 26 years, anytime they sent me to a classroom, I was the top of my class, and I still thought I was stupid because I thought, what's the competition? And just to point, finally, when I retired, and I went through college, I went through a 4-year college in 2 years and graduated top of the class. So I wasn't that stupid. And I went into a PhD program. And the point I'm trying to make is a lot of us feel that we don't know anything. And we're taught to feel that by the schools. So I think you're right on. Let me go on back to the war on drugs. The zero tolerance that he covered so well, terrific. That came directly out of the war on drugs. That term never existed until the war on drugs. As I researched when it came into existence, and tracked it in the newspapers from the first year when it was mentioned twice in the first year, and the second year was mentioned about 30 times, and the third year was mentioned about 600 times, and it just went. And it went from the war on drugs to everything, all those things that they talk about. Zero tolerance for violence, zero tolerance for gender bias. A third grade kid gets thrown out of school for kissing a little girl on the cheek. Zero tolerance for everything. One of the only ones you missed on there that I remember, by the way. You remember that guy in New Hampshire, the superintendent of the school, was thrown out of the school. One of the best superintendents they ever had in New Hampshire. And he lost his job because he was in a school for young kids. And one day, the janitor came in to his office and said, Superintendent, somebody wrote bomb in the girls' bathroom. And he said, bomb? And I said, yeah, B-O-M, bomb. And this was like third graders, fourth graders. So the janitor says, what do I do? And the superintendent said, we'll go down and erase it. Well, it got out to the parents and became a big thing, and he lost his job because he should have shut the school down. And this just gets to a point where it's beyond ridiculous. The war on drugs is arguably the most destructive social policy since slavery. It has corrupted almost everything we have in this country. It certainly corrupted our police and our public officials. We've spent in the last 40 years that we've conducted this war on drugs, we have wasted over $1 trillion of our tax dollars on the war. Every year we continue it, we flush another $70 billion down the same rat hole. And what do we have to show for it? Well, in those 40 years, we've made more than 39 million arrests in our country alone for nonviolent drug offenders. We do everything we can possibly do to destroy the lives of those 39 million people. We put as many in jail as we can, and the others, we make sure they can't get a job or education. You know, if you get caught with so much as smoking a joint in most states, you lose your right to get a loan or a grant from the government to continue your college. It's quite a penalty. That's what the Students for Sensible Drug Policy have been working against for a long time. Luckily, in this state, last year we ended that. We passed a referendum vote by 65%. The populace said that we're going to treat 1 ounce of marijuana as a civil fine, $100. So they can't apply that to you guys. But it's really terrible because we do all these things to these people, then we sit back and we scratch our heads and we say, I wonder why they didn't stop using drugs. Well, we believe that if we legalize these drugs, we will completely take the violence out of the equation. Then by regulating these drugs, we can stop overdose deaths. I spent 26 years in the New Jersey State Police, 14 of those years undercover in narcotics. I worked everything up to $1 billion international heroin and cocaine ring. But I lived in the street with those folks for many, many years. And I can tell you, nobody dies of an overdose because they shoot more and more dope. They die because they don't know how much of that tiny little package of powder they're buying is really the drug and how much is the cutting agent. Too much drug and you're dead. It's like Russian roulette without a gun. And in an illegal, unregulated market, it is impossible to know what's in that package. But if we legalize it, regulate it, like all the other far worse drugs, actually, alcohol and tobacco are probably two worse social drugs among humans. If we legalize it and regulate it, we can end overdose deaths. Also, according to the Center for Disease Control in this country, they say that half of all new cases of AIDS and hepatitis can be traced directly back to intravenous drug users sharing needles. We could end this half of all the potential cases of these deadly diseases by just legalizing the drugs, because then they wouldn't have to share.